Hello, everyone. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe to the Scary Narrator channel, and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. That overcast Saturday, me and my friends, Jordan, Will, and Rachel, drove an hour and a half east of Jackson into thick, unmarked woodlands. We'd deliberately chosen an area absent from any trail map, seeking total isolation from the weekend hiking crowds. I desperately needed the crisp, pine-scented air and cathedral-like silence of the deep woods to untangle my thoughts after a relentless work week. For the first hour, the hike delivered. Dappled sunlight, the crunch of dry leaves underfoot, distant woodpeckers tapping. But the peace shattered when Jordan misread a deer path, leading us off the main trail. Rachel froze first, pointing silently. 20 yards ahead, nailed high on a scarred pine trunk with a thick, rusted spike, was a bleached white animal skull. A large canine, maybe a coyote, jawbone missing, empty sockets staring down. We nervously joked it was just some backwoods hunter's trophy or eccentric folk art. Then we saw the crosses. Dozens of them, maybe 30 or more, crudely fashioned from rough split cedar branches bound with twine, each no taller than a forearm, jammed unevenly into the mossy earth like a haphazard graveyard. Frayed strips of stained cloth, flannel, denim, something like burlap, hung like tattered flags from low-sweeping oak limbs, damp and reeking faintly of mildew and earth. Nestled among tree roots were small, primitive dolls stitched from faded calico, their stuffed bodies slumped, surrounded by hardened pools of dirty, beeswax-colored candle drippings that had bled into the soil. The forest sounds vanished. No birds, no insects, no wind. The air turned thick and still, cold despite the afternoon, pressing in like wet wool. A palpable dread, heavy and silent, settled over all four of us at once, rooting us to the spot. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird, a frantic rhythm echoing the sudden dread coiling in my gut. Yet a perverse, stubborn curiosity overruled the primal fear screaming to run. My fingers, cold and slightly trembling, fumbled for my phone in my jacket pocket. The familiar weight felt alien, almost sacrilegious in that oppressive stillness. Ignoring the sweat slicking my palm, I thumbed it awake, the screen's harsh glare jarring against the muted greens and browns of the clearing. I started snapping pictures, methodically, obsessively. Close-ups of the rough-hewn cedar crosses, focusing on the frayed twine bindings and the damp earth clinging to their bases. Zooming in on the scattered, sun-bleached bones near the skull tree. A knuckle here, a cracked rib fragment there, half sunk in the leaf litter. Then I spotted it, partially buried under a thorny bush. A faded, mud-caked hoodie, dark stains blooming across its shoulder and sleeve. The fabric was stiff, the stains a deep, unsettling rust brown that looked unmistakably like dried blood. I crouched lower, ignoring the damp seeping into my knees, and took several shots, wide angle showing its context, then tight focus on the stains themselves, the coarse weave of the fabric clearly visible. Will's voice cut through my morbid focus, sharp and strained. "What are you doing? Put that away, now!" He was watching me, face pale, eyes darting nervously around the clearing. I barely glanced up, muttering, "Just a sec," already mentally composing the post for the hiking subreddit, the shock value, the inevitable upvotes, the online dissection of the mystery. The attention felt like a shield against the suffocating fear. Beyond the scattered crosses and rags, the clearing deepened towards a central point dominated by a single ancient oak. Its gnarled trunk, thicker than any other tree nearby, was a dark monument. Even from 20 feet away, I could see the bark was scarred not just by time, but by deliberate, crude carvings. Overlapping symbols and jagged lines gouged deep into the wood, some filled with hardened sap or dark grime. Worse were the offerings, or warnings, nailed haphazardly across its surface. More small bones, vertebrae, bird skulls, sharp fragments, pinned like macabre decorations with rusty nails or sharpened twigs. This tree wasn't just old, it felt like an altar, the pulsating heart of the unsettling madness surrounding us. The air seemed thickest here, colder, tasting faintly metallic. Jordan didn't even look at the tree. He stood rigid, shoulders hunched, staring fixedly at the ground near his boots. His voice, when it came, was a tight whisper, stripped of all inflection. "I need to get out of here." That simple sentence, raw with unspoken terror, shattered my morbid fascination. The urge to post vanished, replaced by a cold wave of understanding. We moved as one, turning our backs on the central tree in the clearing, not running, but walking fast, almost stumbling in our haste, retracing our steps without a single word spoken. The oppressive silence of the woods pressed in, broken only by our ragged breaths and the frantic crunch of dry leaves underfoot. Relief, sharp and immediate, washed over me the moment we hit the indistinct deer path that led back to the main trail. The suffocating weight began to lift inch by inch. As we hurried towards the car, parked miles away down the trail, a fragile, desperate thought took hold. It's over. We're out. That's the end of it.
The night descended, thick and quiet, transforming the familiar comfort of home into something fragile. Hours after uploading those 3 photos, carefully cropped, stripped of geotags, posted to the hiking forum, my phone buzzed sharply on the nightstand at midnight. The screen illuminated the dark room. It was a text message, sender unknown. I tapped it open, and my blood ran cold. There, in stark digital clarity, was a photo of my garage, taken from directly across the street under the sickly yellow glow of the street lamp. It showed my sedan parked inside, the porch light burning brightly, the overflowing trash cans beside the door, captured mere minutes ago. A digital shiver crawled up my spine. I scrambled out of bed, heart slamming against my ribs, and lunged for the living room window overlooking the driveway. Peering through the blinds into the inky darkness, I scanned the street, the neighbors' yards, the shadows between cars. Nothing moved. The stillness felt like a held breath. Then, at 3:12 a.m., another jarring buzz. This time, the photo showed my living room window. The curtain was slightly parted, just as I'd left it. Inside, the blue-white flicker of the TV screen I'd forgotten to turn off cast a distinct glow onto the empty armchair where I'd been sitting moments before taking the first picture. Panic, raw and suffocating, swallowed me whole. I flew through the house, hands trembling violently, checking and rechecking every window lock, deadbolt and chain, front door, back door, basement slider, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Morning light brought no relief, only a sickening confirmation. Over coffee, voice still unsteady, I told Jordan. His face paled instantly. "Me too," he whispered, pulling out his phone. "Last night, just a blank screen." He showed me the message log, an unknown number, time-stamped 1:17 a.m., delivering nothing but empty, glowing white. Rachel and Will, checking their own phones with growing dread, reported nothing yet. No words were needed. The shared look between us, heavy with fear and guilt, said it all. We'd trespassed, documented, and shared. We'd disturbed something deep in those woods, something that wasn't meant to be seen. And now, it knew exactly where we lived.
My fingers stabbed the delete button, erasing every photo and the forum post. But the icy certainty settled in my gut. It was already too late. Desperate, I mounted a security camera above my front door. The footage from 2:47 a.m. showed a figure standing motionless on my porch for 4 minutes and 58 seconds, face obscured in deep shadow cast by the porch roof. But clearly visible against their dark shirt hung a pale, porous object, swinging slightly, roughly finger-length, unmistakably bone-like. The police took a statement, filed a report, then nothing. The terror metastasized. Rachel arrived home to find her back door wide open. Her cat vanished without a trace. Will began hearing distinct nightly sounds, sharp snaps of twigs just outside his windows, followed by faint, rhythmic knocking like knuckles on glass. I kept every light blazing 24/7, that crawling sensation of unseen eyes locked on me, never easing. The texts shifted to terse, chilling commands: repent, return, watch, sent from burner numbers that dead-ended when traced.
The final blow was finding a small, rough wooden cross with feathers and twine nailed to a tree in my backyard. The gate was locked. The fence is tall. I called the police again. Useless. I even slept in my car, afraid of my own house. Slowly, the incident stopped, and the heavy air seemed to lift. We never found out who sent the pictures or left the cross. Jordan moved away. Rachel never set foot on a trail again. Will deleted all his social media. We barely talk now. Me? I don't hike off marked trails anymore. I hardly leave the city. And sometimes I still hear a soft knock at the door or the window. But I refuse to look. I learned the hard way. Some places are forgotten for a reason, and some things don't want to stay buried.